What's up, gamers? It's Above, back with another video, and today we'll be covering everything you need to know about Conqueror in Season 14. Whether you're chasing the title for the first time, or a previous Conqueror aiming to gild your seal, I wanted to gather some of the best tips and tricks that I've learned in each GM over the past few seasons and consolidate them into one video. Without further ado, let's get into it. To kick things off, you'll need to be a minimum of 1335 power to enter the Grandmaster playlist this season. Any additional power levels beyond that will not benefit you, as we're always locked to 25 under power. The Grandmaster Nightfall rotation will be Glassway, Fallen Saber, Inside Terminus, the Inverted Spire, Warden of Nothing, and the Disgraced. The first GM of the season will be Glassway, with the Adept Plug 1 as the weapon reward starting on June 22nd. If I were to rank these GMs in terms of difficulty, Glassway easily tops the list. This Nightfall is loaded with Overload champions, and to top it off, our Overload options are much less potent this time around. Thermal Overload was crucial in the boss room in Season 12, so it'll be interesting to see what Guardians come up with in terms of strategy this season. The rest of the GMs are pretty similar in terms of difficulty in my opinion, with the Inverted Spire being by far the most farmable GM. So when we have those spicy double loot weekends, look no further than the Inverted Spire for casual 15-minute clears. As always, I'll have you guys covered with updated GM guides as the season progresses. There will be 3 reprised weapons to chase this season. The Plug 1 is a precision frame fusion rifle capable of rolling Reservoir Burst, the perk that made Loaded Questions so famous prior to sunsetting. Hung Jury is a 180 RPM kinetic scout rifle that is one of just 5 weapons in Destiny 2 that can roll Firefly, arguably the best ad clear perk in the game. And the Uzume is a solar 90 RPM sniper rifle that can roll perks like Triple Tap or Clown Cartridge in Column 3, and either Vorpal or High Impact Reserves in Column 4. All of these weapons are solid in their own right and are definitely worth farming due to their unique perk combinations. As the weapon meta stands right now, I'd rank the Uzume the most potent weapon of the bunch, followed by the Hung Jury and the Plug 1. And now for the meat of the video. Tips and tricks for all 6 Grandmasters that should help you on your way to Conquer this season. And we'll kick things off with Glassway. The hardest part of this GM is undoubtedly the boss room. It's hectic and is absolutely loaded with Overload champions. But what if I told you you can make this boss room a hell of a lot easier just by running blinding nades? A lot of people don't actually know that the mini Hydra and Wyverns in the boss room are blindable. You have the ability to pace the boss fight by keeping the mini boss blinded instead of simply health gating it right away. By doing this, only 2 Wyverns or Overload Minotaurs will ever spawn up at the same time, as opposed to instantly health gating it and having to deal with 4 all at once, which you absolutely don't want to do. The Ignition Code and Truth Teller are both solid options here. Moving on to Fallen Saber. This GM isn't necessarily hard, it's just kind of annoying. The first place that groups tend to struggle is the Warsat, and what makes this encounter challenging is the sheer volume of adds and the skiff turrets that rain down one-shot missiles of death if you're not paying attention. Well, you can actually control the pace of the fight by stepping on and off the Warsat as you please, and you can break the turrets off of the skiffs to remove the threat of them altogether. At 34% of the Warsat progress, the first Overload Captain will spawn in, and at 38%, the second and third skiffs will spawn. So, step off the Warsat at 34% to clear adds and kill the Overload Captain, then step back on when you're ready. And once it hits 38%, shift your focus to the skiffs and break the turrets as they fly in. A couple other tricks in this Nightfall are to spawn camp the Overload Captains in the back hallway once you break the fuse in the encounter following the Warsat. It makes them a total non-factor. And in the Arc Stream encounter, you can actually just jump or slide repeatedly and deposit the Arc energy without ever having to dodge the electricity. Inside Terminus is a pretty straightforward Nightfall, but where most people struggle is capturing all 3 plates in the boss room. Blinding grenades are essential here yet again. Keeping adds blinded instead of killing them prevents additional ad spawns and keeps them from aggressing the plates that you're trying to capture, allowing you to capture all 3 simultaneously and move on to the final boss melt phase right away. This limits how often you have to deal with the swarm of gladiators that one-shot you out of nowhere. Though the Inverted Spire is by far the most farmable GM this season, there are still a few awkward spots in this Nightfall that can cause some issues. For example, jumping up to the entrance of the drill site where an unstoppable champion is just waiting to steal your lunch money. Instead, you can actually hop onto the buildings on this side of the cavern and kill it before you ever jump across. You can even get lucky and see the barrier champion wandering around down below sometimes and kill it as well. There are long sight lines all throughout this Nightfall, so take advantage of them when you can. The first tip for Warden of Nothing actually comes right at the start of the Nightfall. You can kill the first Overload champion right when you enter the first room, then head left and skip all of the other ads. The second tip can be found in the Prison of Elders encounter, where you have to deactivate 3 mines in a short period of time. We found it easiest to start by dropping a well in front of the A cap point without actually capturing the plate yet. Insta-kill the barrier non-stop, then step on the A capture point. Once A is captured, spawn kill the Overload Minotaur on the bridge, then have an Omnioculus Hunter head to C to spam invis and solo cap the plate, while your other 2 teammates head left and capture B. Easy peasy. It also turns out that the elevator in the boss room is best friends with the architects, so to avoid silly deaths, make sure to stagger your jumps on the way down. For the most part, the Disgraced is a pretty straightforward Nightfall. Honestly, the biggest thing is that it's extremely ad dense and a lot of the encounters are very compact, so I highly recommend Stasis for ad control here. The Warlock Stasis turret is extremely strong right now, like maybe a little too strong, so definitely use it. Revenant is also a fantastic option, with Well of Radiance being your go-to safety net. As for go-to weapons this season, Breach and Clear is basically predetermined that Anarchy will be king all season long. If you have Anarchy, this exotic with Breach and Clear absolutely nukes champions, and will even double as your source of Unstop with the Unstoppable GL artifact mod. If you don't have this weapon, I highly recommend using the next couple weeks to spoil farm in the Templar encounter. If optimized correctly, you can fill up on spoils in just a couple hours. And if that's not possible for you, Wither Horde is definitely a solid replacement. Well guys, that concludes today's video. I hope you learned something new and are feeling more confident with chasing your Conqueror title this season. By the way, I'll be doing GM helps all season long at twitch.tv/above, so feel free to swing on by the channel. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!